Okay, hey Linda, welcome to the show. I'm glad you could make it on to so that we could talk here. We've of course known each other for over a year now. We've seen each other at a lot of different events and had a lot of different not full-on projects that we've worked on, but just different things that we've discussed and helped each other out with. And so, but I haven't heard your full story of your the company that you've found that you've worked on and what your background is. So with that, yeah, do you want to just start off by talking a bit about your background? I think you live in Connecticut now, how you ended up there and how you ended up working on startup ideas.
Thank you, Brandon. Good morning, and I'm happy to share my journey. It's always actually a journey
Yeah.
to come into entrepreneurship. So I came into this whole thing, Bottleneck Technologies, in 2003, and it was my background is in actually finance. And so I used to do valuation, companies, mergers and acquisitions, and then went through different analytics, trend, macro, micro, different industries. So the numbers were all always there. And then I got pushed by tech guys into a little programming, and I ended up with data science, professional studies at MIT. And actually, I decided to stay on the business side. So that's my quick background. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's already I'm learning more things about you. I didn't realize that you had a business background and that you went from there into tech. I'm kind of a bit of the opposite. I started off studying engineering, then kind of went into more product business area, but still try to stay tactical. But that's very interesting. Um, yeah, so why don't you tell me a bit more about what does Bottleneck do and how that started? Did you go right into trying to found a company once you went to the technical side, or was that after some time?
So, after finishing the data science, I I was thinking to do more numbers. However, uh, ChatGPT came, and I was already thinking, and I was already in no code environment anyway, and I was like, there was an article in New York Times, and they talk about coders being the new blue collar workers. And I'm like, you know what? They're 8 years old. They can code much better than I. Why don't I mix what I know already from business and stay there and use my personal skills, interpersonal skills, human skills, to do something and to start a company.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that is one of the very valuable things to have is some domain knowledge in a certain area. And then if you can partner with someone that's technical, then you know all the ins and outs of that industry, and then they can handle the technical part, the coding part. And so it is a valuable team up to have the business person that knows the domain knowledge and that technical person. So that makes sense.
Actually, I didn't even address like what is Bottleneck Technologies about after all. So after all, I actually got asked to start the company. So I never really thought about that. It was not something that was a goal, but when I was asked to start, I started to think about it more and more, and then it came. But Bottleneck Technology started as a and is consulting and software development company. So we have couple of smaller products that were developed internally and that can be used with clients. However, the main goal and the mission of Bottleneck Technologies is to bring the technology to more people, to connect technology, being a bridge between technology and business or any industry that needs technology.
Okay, so if there's a business out there that wants to become more technical, that wants to they already maybe have like a strong presence in the business side of things, but they want to leverage technology, then they would reach out to Bottleneck to and you guys would you implement a whole solution for them, or are you just advising them?
We can do the whole solution for them. So that would be like one side of the scale, for example, to help businesses to push them forward in what they already have. The other thing is working with startups. And this is completely different, two different environments for us and for me. The startups, they are more tech savvy. They just need help, like physical help, technical help. They just don't have time. They maybe need to push into business side and work on the business idea. The businesses that are already there and they are already functioning, they're not so tech savvy and they really need uh, some push, I would say more efficiency in their workspace. So it's two different areas of our interest.
Got it. So either whole solutions or just kind of tuning things or making things more efficient for a company that already has some technical
Yes.
skill set. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're interfacing with a lot of different clients, and I'm sure maybe there are people that when you're first getting started that you worked with to get up and running. Are there any interesting or people that helped you out a lot or that maybe even hindered you when starting Bottleneck Technologies that were part of your startup story?
Mm-hmm. So before I started the company, I approached couple, I would say mentoring organization or business organizations that offer mentoring, and went straight for sales mentoring, and then later for business, more like a company structure and how it affects taxes. And so that would be my mentors that I stayed with for some time, over a year, I think it's some of them into second year. Um, Also, while I was networking and getting acquainted with New York City tech scene, I came across uh, business owners and founders who actually founded the same company as as me. Not the same, just it's also was consulting and software development. And some of them were very nice and they shared a lots of stories, how they started, what happened, what didn't happen, what happened wrong, what happened in a good way. And um, I stayed with them friends, business friend for since beginning, since before I started the company. And they were really valuable about advising what to be, what to watch for. Um, just really anytime I call them, they offer really nice advice. And I think they were like a core um um like a stone, like cornerstone for me to continue and be there and go through the waves that the business brings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've certainly noticed myself too going to these networking events in New York is that there are always a lot of or not always, but you'll see from time to time development companies that are interested in building out what the entrepreneurs are trying to build. And one thing I've wondered about is how you guys are adapting with this new these new AIs that can do a lot of coding. Are you finding that that's a benefit? It could even be a benefit in that you guys can code up MVPs for startup founders more quickly. Or have you found that are any entrepreneurs trying to build it themselves? How have you guys navigated that?
So we definitely dive into any help that we can do because clients want things faster as well and cheaper, which helps. And we definitely use some of this help. But on top of this help, they really need to be skilled developers, engineers, business analysts that understand the process. The human element is really, really important. I we have clients that build themselves in no-code environment as well, very fast, and it proves it proves efficient to some way. However, if you want to scale and move forward, there might be some restrictions and limitation in the platforms. And so it's really good start. And then we suggest to move into really coding that can be scaled properly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've found the same. I mean, right now the AIs they do have a limited context window that they can think about. So the larger a project gets, then the tougher it is for them to really make an impact. And it just yeah, there's something still missing between the AIs and someone that is a very experienced programmer that isn't quite there yet. Um, there's just more intention about what they build versus the AI. It might just add a bunch of random things that you don't necessarily need, or it may not really know what direction overall the project should be going in. So yeah, right now there definitely does seem to be still a need for humans, but yeah, it will how long that section will continue out. It may continue for a number of years. It may be that, there are creative things or other things that the AIs will always need someone for, or maybe eventually it will completely be phased out. I don't know, but we'll see. We might all be jobless soon. We'll see.
I think it's a very, very interesting state of affairs in tech right now.
Uh,
And uh, I think the best thing what mm, tech companies that they are trying to build a product is to really build smart and, you know, do a lots of validation and prepare themselves for some good push with good tech team behind. Um, and still wait or be ready to redo things very quickly because of the tech, how it's moving and what it offers.
right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that iteration's very
Yeah.
important with technology. Just to you have to put something out there and then see how it people respond to it, and then based on their feedback, iterate and keep on improving it. So um yeah, so next up, what do you see being the or when you started, and maybe you touched on this a bit already, but when you started the bottleneck, what do you see the vision being? Was it, did you have a certain vision in mind, or you just wanted to help people out with their projects?
Um, so the vision is to grow and to bring the technology to, I would say, masses. So uh, kind of show that technology can help you in many ways. There is a lot of companies in like I would say older industries that and people they never touch any chat GPT, let's say, right? I'm not talking about other fun tools. And so the gap between the adopters, first adopters, and the later adopters or the mass, it's just huge. And there is a lot of potential for everybody and for every company to adapt to new trends and to new technology. And I think that uh, there is a big space for us for Bottleneck to help these businesses and these people and to make them comfortable with the technology and use it and show them how, effective bringing more profit it can and make life easier in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's incredibly tough to start a company. There's so many things that you're juggling. Just thinking about the product market fit to begin with, or just that alone. And then on top of that, if you're not a technical person and you have um, that weighing down on you on top of everything else, it seems almost unbearable. So it's good if you are a non-technical founder to have someone at the very least for the MVP or until you find a technical co-founder to have someone that can get you to that point where you can at least put a product out there and you don't have to worry about learning how to code. Although it is always good to learn how to code, but if you don't have time for that, then it's good to have someone who does have a lot of expertise in that area. So yeah, no, that's good. And what would you say? So you mentioned before there are a lot of different development companies, contractors at at these network events. What puts Bottleneck at the forefront of the industry? What sets it apart from the other dev contractors in the industry?
So what I would say is we are here. We are not disappearing. What I mean with that, I experience, lots of startup founders. They hire somebody and people switch project, developers switch project, or the contractors switch what is better, what is faster. And so the founders, they stay somewhere in the air with their own project and they have to hire somebody else. They have to look for somebody else. Or somebody else disappear and leaves a project that it's like half done, and then the founder cannot use it. So I feel like uh, Bottleneck, it's really there. It's reliable, transparent. We work with you. We show you what we're doing, how we're doing. The client is our team member, basically the boss of the developers. And uh, the cooperation can be, it's set for a long time. The customer service. Um, you are not left hanging, after you call and, you get called back and with whatever problem you have or whatever concern you might or the client might have. So I would say also the team has lots of experience. It's a full stack company. We can take on a lot of different projects. That's why I say a startup, they have very interesting ideas. They are very tech savvy and we can work. We can work with somebody who doesn't know the tech and show them with different industries like the manufacturing, supply chain, healthcare, um, e-commerce. So there is a lot of experience and solid team, I would say. Solid, reliable, transparent team with good communication. And it's there, not going anywhere. How the mountains say, why you climbing it? It's there.
There you go. Love it. Yeah, no, reliability, especially with the if you're hiring a contractor is big, and I've because it's tempting to there are a lot of very inexpensive contractors that you can get where it's just one individual person. But you never know what kind of you don't know if they're reliable or even if they are, they intend to be reliable. You don't know what kind of life event they could have, which I had happen one time when I had a contractor and yeah, some kind of life event did come up and he had to switch or he couldn't work on the projects anymore and that can happen, but it's good to have like a company like Bottleneck, like you're saying, that's reliable and will always have someone there to work on your project and push things forward, and then communicate clearly because that's also a big aspect with there's a lot of overseas uh dev contractors, and so it can be tough to communicate sometimes. So it's good because of the different time zone. So it's good to have that good channel of communication open as well. So I could see that being an important differentiators for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Um, and how's it been starting this company in the New York City area? I know you're also in Connecticut. Did you start mostly in Connecticut or more in New York?
So like the community, I first get acquainted in New York City, but I live in Connecticut. And so I moved a little bit from New York to Connecticut, but I like both of the areas because they provide completely different experience and again completely different type of businesses or founders. So sometimes personally, when I miss New York City, I go to New York City. Or sometimes when I need Connecticut and some older industries, so I go there. So it's a good, but New York City, it's a huge tech hub, and it has lots of offer. It's lots of smart, creative founders, and I like to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I there are definitely times when it just feels like it's time to revisit the city and go back in and just as an excuse to go there. So I feel that. But what would you say? So you said that there's some different industries in Connecticut versus New York. I'm curious about that. What are the differences in those two different areas?
So, New York City, it's more of the startup community for us for Bottleneck. In Connecticut, it's more healthcare, manufacturing big, lots of manufacturing professional organizations that we are involved with, um, supply chain. Stanford, especially, it's growing, and the tech scene is also growing there. It has a little bit different feel though. Uh, but the main difference is the New York City is the startups, the visionary, the very creative. The Connecticut is more, we already have business. We need to push forward with something, with new technology, with new integration, some automation. Um, they tell us more of a problem and we come with the solutions. In New York City, it's more like, we know what we want, we almost have it, we just need more help. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Connecticut, it sounds like the Connecticut issues, these problems that they need optimized. And that sounds like one of the those 2 points that you mentioned before,
yeah.
either optimizing something or you're building something up from scratch. So that makes sense. Or that yeah, the optimization business, a lot of it coming from Connecticut. But so you mentioned that there's manufacturing there. I didn't realize that there is a lot of manufacturing in Connecticut. What are they making up there?
There is a lot of actually defense, a big defense industry, different parts for another industries, like very small plastic, aluminum, whatever parts for other industries. Many times these industries depend on high skills engineers as well, in their own sense. Um, and many companies are old, like 100 years old, 70 years old, 50 years old. I meet management and I always ask like how old is the company? And it's amazing to see that they've been here for so long and they staying and they are developing. That's why they need to get into the new let's say new millennium with new tech,
Yeah.
and if they want to stay longer. And I meet people who are very open.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so it sounds like if I want to know once I start a company how to keep it going, I'll go to Connecticut and learn from those companies. They've been around so long. I'm sure they must be doing something right. But yeah, I didn't realize the diversity of different kinds of projects that you're working on. Do you want to go
Mhm.
into like and you don't have to go into anything that is under non-disclosure, but do you want to go into any like the very interesting projects that you've worked on like in any certain area just to kind of fill in how what kind of cool stuff that you guys do?
So for example, we are involved now with educational project, and it's huge integration platform, connecting many different organizations involved in education of future teachers. Um, so that would be more of an integration database system. Then we had e-commerce, recently e-commerce platform for something like Airbnb.
Yeah. No, those are both really cool. I mean, education, that's, I think, no one could argue that it's not essential to increase the quality of education in this country, and really try to make like uh yeah, learning enjoyable. And I know a lot of work's being done, especially with these large language models. One company I know is Khan Academy is doing a lot of stuff to make to create AI tutors and that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how, while AIs get smarter, I think we'll start to get smarter as well. Hopefully we don't depend on them too much. Hopefully we learn. They allow us to learn more rather than less. So yeah, we'll see how
Yeah.
that plays out. Um, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced trying to yeah, work optimize things or start new projects?
So one of the really good books that came my way, it's called Traction, and it's actually for more like product founders, like one product founders that needs to be placed. And the book talks about like 18, 19 pathways, channels, how to get your customers. And when you are a company, um, not every company, even with the same similar product, find the same channel how to get their customers. And this book shows that you have to try so many channels that work for you. And when you hit the black box or, you know, uh, you move that way where it's like more efficient. So now what we're doing with Bottleneck, since it's 2 years old company, less than 2 years old, we are trying to find the best pathway where our customers come from. And that I would call, I wouldn't call it challenge for myself. I would call it like puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I mean, that's one thing. I mean, it's very challenging to find customers, especially early on when you're first building a product and you don't have really much to show them yet. You don't have references to try to or that can attest to how good your product is when you're first starting off. So it really is a struggle to find those first customers. But it makes you realize though that since it is so tough to find customers and you end up just finding some kind of obscure channel that you're able to source in customers from, that it really is possible to compete with other established players in the same market, because
Exactly.
it just, that they didn't happen to, or there's a good chance that they didn't happen to stumble across this obscure channel that you found. Like in my case, there's just certain Facebook groups in the dental insurance space that I was able to find a lot of different customers from, and so it allows us smaller startup companies to find those really niche or hard to find channels of customers, and gives us a foothold to try to enter into the industry. So those are both, very much a struggle in the startup journey, but it allows you to have your own foothold there to get it in the first place. So yes,
Yeah.
it can go both ways.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that when I talk with different founders of consulting and software development companies, they have their own ways to get customers. And
Right.
when I look at Bottleneck and where I feel they're coming from, it's completely different. It's
Yeah.
very interesting to see.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Um, and what would you say is something that, so it's 2 years into to the bottleneck journey now, you said. What would you say is some of the most valuable insights that you've gained that you could pass on to someone else who's looking to start a company, or just someone else is interested in what makes a good startup company?
Um, I would I would I would say that they need to decide how they want to go into this company. They want to go, um, you know, full speed, just company, or they would like to start it on a side of something slow organically. I think this decision needs to be done at the beginning. So the expectations um, can align with their vision. So you might want to build something slower on a side, but when you go full head on, you lose something else valuable. For example, you leave job or something. But when you work on something 100% time or 200% time, you push, you gain something that way. So I think that deciding how you want to start the company and what's your goal with the company, how you see yourself, it's really important. The other thing, I think in both, and my brother actually taught me that he's also in IT. It's from running, and he mentioned the first time I heard the word from him, it's perseverance. So no matter what you do, how you do, there are always like ups and downs, and you just have to go through them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is definitely important on your first point to have a clear roadmap of how you want to start things off so that you're doing things intentionally and you know you're not just spending time working on something that's not really leading anywhere because then a lot of time passes and then it can be very discouraging when you have a lot of time passing and you don't have much to show for it or you haven't achieved a certain goal that you set out to, so that's good. And then I think we know for sure that perseverance is a common theme throughout the startup world that needs to be that you need to have in order to make something work, so that's always important.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Linda. I've loved getting to know more about what Bottleneck works on. It sounds like you guys have a diverse array of different projects and different companies and different industries that you're working on. So I'm sure that keeps things exciting, which sometimes it can be easy to get burned out working on a startup. But when you're working on so many different cool projects, I'm sure that helps switch things up for you. So it sounds like a cool space to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Brendan, for having us on your show.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.